Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I hope everything's okay in your life. In this video you will find an updated version of series I prepared in the previous years. You're in luck for listening to the explanation because I felt the need to quickly discuss the content of the video. Each video will feature an interview with a class master about either the succession or awakening versions of a class. All videos, including the older ones, will be available in the playlist you see on the screen. You can find the link of the playlist in the pinned comment section. The purpose of this video series is to help you understand the basic role of the class within the game. I must clarify that it is not a deeply detailed guide. You will watch an interview in a conversational style aimed at answering the fundamental questions of those interested in playing a class. The class masters featured are experienced players who have dedicated thousands of hours to their class and to the Black Desert Online. You may recognize some and not the others, but unfamiliarity does not make them bad players. All the class masters mentioned have proven themselves in Black Desert Online world. Please be respectful when sharing your thoughts. Enjoy watching. Hello guys, welcome. Today's guest is Kaelthy for Awakening Berserker. May you please introduce yourself? Who are you? Where are you from? Which server are you playing at?
Hi, I'm Kaelthy. I'm from Sweden and I play on the EU server, just doing PvP.
So, how did you find out of BDO and what caught your interest to stay in BDO?
Just randomly popped up on like the recommended page for Steam. During the Steam release, I was just like in the process of getting clean, so I had like nothing to do, and I was just like sitting at home, like looking at the PC screen, and then it popped up like new game, blah blah blah, now on Steam, and so it was only like €5, so I bought it, and then like really liked the combat, so I ended up staying.
Thank you. Have you ever taken a break from playing BDO? If so, what motivated you to come back, to return?
Like around 2018, one of my guild back then disbanded. Like, yes, I also started dating my girlfriend that I'm still dating right now around the same time. So after the guild disbanded, I just quit BDO to like play other games, just me and my girlfriend. So we were playing like Warframe and shit like that for a bit. But then when that got bored and I started getting DMs that the yes people was coming back to the game and we were all gonna do this new guild together, I was like, yeah, let's do that.
Thank you. How long have you been playing the class you're currently playing? Have you tried any other classes?
I've tried like almost all of the classes in the game at this point, besides like the brand new ones and the Dasher classes. So I haven't played like Meiwa, Musa, Meigu, Jai, Guardian for PvP. But Awakening Circle, I've been playing it since the reboot, or since a little bit before the reboots, like around the CC system changes.
Thank you. So what sets the class you play apart from the other classes? What is the special thing of Awakening Berserker?
I mean, like the entire class is just, it's fucked up the things you can do on it. Like it's by far the most flexible class in terms of like the second to second gameplay. Like if you want to do something, you can do it if you have the knowledge and like the mechanical skill to pull it off. You can like animation cancel everything, mouse movement everything while you're animation canceling the shit. You can mouse move your animation cancels while canceling cancels with other cancels. Like it's limitless almost. And the sort of stuff you can do on the class when you know what you're doing is it's like absolutely insane. In comparison to like every other class, it feels like you're playing a tab target MMO. I tried playing some of the other Photom classes after Berserker since it's not in a very good state, but it felt like I was pressing 1, 2, 3 instead of actually playing BDO. Almost like a curse. Like once you play Zerk, you can't roll off it, like no matter how weak it gets.
Is your class evasion or damage reduction or both playable, and why?
It's DR. And anybody playing any evasion, building evasion on a class with less than 15% evasion rate, they're completely trolling.
What is your current gear score? Do you rush gear progress or you take it easy type of guy?
My current gear score, I think right now I sold my armors. I think I'm around 750 with triple pan accuracy, triple pan dabo. But I'm basically fixed armors, I'm hard cap. And like most of the time I used to slack off on gear progression until I get gear checked by somebody, and then after I get gear checked, I like snap out of it and start grinding again. Like the only reason why I do any sort of grinding is just to not get gear checked in PvP.
I get it. So is your class newbie friendly? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate its difficulty? If you want, you can separate it as Succession and Awakening.
I'm gonna talk only about Awakening because Succession is a completely different beast, but it's really weird. If you're not interested in fighting like the top 10, 50, 100 players on your region that are all playing like Photom meta classes, it's around the same as all of the other classes like Warrior, Valk, Awakening Ranger, shit like that, because all of the big issues that the class has, it's not gonna get punished by inexperienced players. So if you're pulling up to like a large scale 100v100 siege, nobody's going to be punishing the gap on Flamebuster, for example. But if you're planning on doing like tryhard, 3v3, 5v5, 1v1s, shit like that against top players, it's I would say it's by far the like hardest class in the game to actually be useful on. Yeah, you have to know the kit of every single class in the game in order to actually play against it, since the protections are so limited. So if you mess up at any point in time, you're dead. So I'm not trying to discourage people from picking up the class, but if you want to like play the class in that sort of like end game small scale content, like there's nothing that could be said to like prepare you for how much work you're gonna need to put in. Like I spend 5-6 hours per day either practicing combos, doing hitting dummies, doing 1v1 shit like that, and I'm not able to perform on it in 3v3, 5v5 scale. It's gonna take a lot of work to make it useful in small scale.
Thank you. We are curious about your thoughts on the PV situation of the class. Could you provide us with a detailed information separately for early, mid, and end game?
Like early game, it's complete dog shit. Don't grind early game on Awakening. Just swap Succession, hold S, D, and RMB, and nothing else. And you can grind all of the early game spots without moving your hands. But for like a mid game, that sort of stuff, that's when it's actually good, or it starts to get good. It's very exhausting since it's high APM. Especially if you don't have the muscle memory for all of the cancels and stuff already ingrained. But once you have that, it's really consistent, especially at like single target, 2-3 target spots. And shit like Cyclops, where you're just back attacking this one mob, it's really, really good. Shit like Tangad as well, you have unlimited amount of ranged KD, so you can never like have stuff off cooldown or like on cooldown that you need to KD mechanic the next pack, and then you can just giant leap over and do your like small AoE damage skills on it. It's really good for Tangad Ruin type spots.
Okay, thank you. So let's talk about PvP. Most people wonder Awakening Berserker PvP. We are curious about your thoughts on the PvP situation of the class of Awakening Berserker. Could you provide us with detailed information separately for 1v1, 1vx, AOS, 5v5, Guild League, Node, Siege, and War of the Roses?
I'll start with 1v1s, probably my favorite content on the class, because although you have all of these weaknesses in terms of protections, gaps, and shit like that, in 1v1s, because you can always look at the other player, you can kind of react to what they're doing. So while in a 3v3 you might get block jump from a render distance and one shot by somebody you didn't even see. In a 1v1 against the same player, you're going to be able to outspace them, outmove. Like, you can look at the person and you can see when you need to start like spacing shit. You actually see what's going to CC you ahead of time. And then 1vx, so let's say you're getting chased down by a gank or something, that's probably the biggest issue that the class has. It doesn't have a single CC or damage ability that's usable in a 1vx in terms of actually being useful. So your only protected CC would be the Goomba jump, the SF in pre-awakening kit, and that's not it's not usable as a re-CC. It's not usable as damage. It's not usable as a catch. The AoE is way too small and it's a bound as well. Your only option in a 1vx fight is to just try to run away. And the main problem in small scale that the class has, so I'll transition it a bit, is a lot of situations the only right play where you won't die is to just try to run away from the fight using the turbo blasting movement and giant leap, lava piercer, all of that shit. But then when you run away from the fight, that means your teammate isn't there anymore. So if they decide to chase you, all of a sudden you're stuck in a 1v3, you have no stamina, no protections, and even if you grab one of them, you have no way to re-CC them without getting CC'd yourself. But if you're playing against people who aren't like punishing these weaknesses properly, it's really easy to tell like if you're fighting people that know how to fight against Berserker or not. You can pull off some absolutely insane stuff. Like I have clips of hitting 1v6s, 1v8, 1v10s. Like if you're fighting people that don't know your gap, you can get away with a lot of stuff just from positioning. In terms of AOS, the class is just bad. The entire premise of the class right now, as it is, kind of relies on being able to kill people quickly through outplaying them or desync from fast movement. The high burst damage makes up for the lack of protections to some degree. So you go in, you one-shot somebody that isn't looking, you get out. But in AOS, because the cap is so low, you can't one-combo anybody. You will still get one-comboed by most of like the meta classes, most of the gap. So the people that is trying to run you down, they can one-combo you, you can't one-combo them. And even if you one-combo them, realistically, you're not going to be able to re-CC them in a 1v. Every time I see a Awakening Berserker in AOS, we just talk with the team beforehand, like, yeah, we should sit on this guy, and it's a 3v2. A 5v5 scale, 3v3s, that sort of stuff. It's probably the best scale for Awakening Berserker, in my opinion, if you don't consider Megu Awakening as a factor. Because on 5v5, you can choose your teammates. So you can set up a team that basically fixes the weaknesses of the class. So it would be stuff like Awakening Valk, which the vacuum is really good for putting the devastation 40% slow on people. You can get it on the entire enemy team completely safely. They can give you SA heal as you're comboing somebody, so that you have lingering SA, so that you don't have the gap. They will keep you alive and let you carpet. Awakening Valk is basically a must-have for playing Awakening Berserker in any sort of small-scale fights. You can also have stuff like Awakening Lance, Awakening Hashashins, stuff like that on your team in that scale. Really good. They set up the CC for you, just blast on them with Titan Blow, ranged KD, super useful. And you're also able to like peel your teammates really well because you have the 3 grabs. So if one teammate gets CC'd or 2 of them get CC'd, you can just grab one guy, grab the next guy, grab the third guy. Some of the Vs, you just hold them with the extension. Really good. In terms of Guild League, Node War, Siege, War of Roses, and all of that stuff, it's all the same. Like anything above 15v15, you're not going to be playing the class in melee anymore. You're either playing as a pre-awakening ult bot, where your entire team feeds you rage, you're playing like full tank build. You just go in for the pre-engage with the shift Q, and that's like the entire gameplay. You will probably die in it. Or you play full blast build, and you sit on max range doing only the 2 skills, like Flame Buster, Titan Blow. Stand AFK 4 seconds, repeat. You can get a lot of kills that way, but it's not that fun. I don't enjoy it that much. But a lot of people really enjoy the class for that sort of content.
Thank you. It was amazing, detailed, and insightful. Okay. Is there a significant strong aspect of the class you're playing or significant weakness? What is the strongest thing for you and what is the weakest thing for you?
The strongest thing about the class is probably like how flexible and unpredictable it is, especially with the servers being horrendous. With 16 tick servers, if I'm sitting there on low ping, 600 plus FPS, I'm just gonna be teleporting on other people's screen. And then with how much you can mass move the stuff, I can go up to you, behind you, do full circles on your screen. I'm just gonna be teleporting from place to place, while on my screen I'm just waiting for when to cancel the skill and just grab you. So it's almost impossible to react to, especially in like a smaller scale group fight, because if somebody's looking at somebody else, there's no way that they will be able to predict like what sort of mass movement you're going to be doing. I can show some clips or send some clips after the interview is over to like showcase what it actually looks like from the other player's screen, but it's horrible. The most significant weakness of the class is the massive amount of gaps and the lack of protections on the few high damage skills, CCs, and the movement. The class is also really vulnerable to getting hit staggered, which it wasn't really that big of a mechanic up until they released Awakening, Wusa, Megu, Dracania, like all of the like the most recent 4 classes. They will basically just freeze up your movement completely. The only protected like spammable movement cancel you have is like the blasting shake off thing. And if you're getting hit staggered in that, even though it's technically a iframe, the spacing will get thrown off so that by the time you're doing the second shake-off, because the way it works is you're doing maybe 20 shake-offs back to back to go from point A to point B, and you will pop out of the first shake-off still within the CC range, while without hit staggers you would actually be outside of the CC range. So when you go from the iframe one into the unprotected one, so all of these new classes that there isn't really any counterplay to them, it's multi-hit stagger CCs. So if you use your movement, you die. So it's kind of rough. That's why I don't play the class anymore for group fights. I don't want to grief my guild.
Thank you. So are there any classes that clearly dominate the class you're playing? I mean the Awakening Berserker. On the other hand, are there any classes that you can dominate them easily? The counter matchups for you.
It's really complicated because the way that I see counter matchup and win rates in 1v1s, I base it off both people having basically the perfect scenario. Like they're both on low ping, they're both on high FPS, they're both playing perfectly, they both have the same gear. And in that sort of scenario, I think every single class does good in small scale or 1v1s. Counter Berserker to some degree. So if a class has fast protected movement, maybe it has a block jump, any multi-hit or protected CCs on a low cooldown, dashes that turn them invisible for other players, all of that stuff will counter the Awakening Berserker pretty hard. But that's only in that specific scenario that I set up with everybody playing completely optimally. So all of the older rat classes, any class with lingering SA, like Awakening Nova, Awakening Val, stuff that bypasses frontal guards, all of that stuff, you can kind of figure out what you're going to struggle against and what you're not going to struggle against just by looking at their skill tooltips. But like I said before, all of that relies on them actually knowing exactly how to play against Awakening Berserker, because it's very desyncy, it's very laggy. So you need to know what you're going to do and predict it to some degree. The less experienced the player is, the better the class is going to be. Like even if somebody can one combo me, realistically, if they don't know how to play against Awakening Berserker, I'm going to win 100% of the time. I'm gonna farm 100 to 0 even if I get one comboed, because I can just punish all of the stuff that they do. The issue is, it only becomes an issue when people don't leave any of the openings to punish. So for example, if I'm fighting the vast majority of the Awakening Valks who practice 1v1 and know the kits and weaknesses of other classes, it becomes completely winnable. But if I'm fighting like a Node War Valkyrie that maybe doesn't do that much 1v1s, they will never kill me, ever. It's kind of like a coin toss, like a pub stomper, like Illaoi in League of Legends, if anybody knows what that is. It's extremely high win rate in low elo, but if you bring it to pro play, you're gonna get dumpstered.
Thank you. Is there a mechanic or skill in your class that you would like to be buffed or nerfed?
I would like them to make the class more similar to how it was before the reboot. Because after reboot, they basically just turned the class into like a bot that you can use 2 skills, or you have 2 good skills. You have Devastation Slow and you have Titan Blow. Titan Blow, it's the only protected CC that's actually usable, but it's a like 4-second long animation lock, which goes completely against the identity of the class. You're doing all of these fancy fast cancels, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there doing a 4-second long frontal animation lock because it's the only protected CC and it deals really good damage. Devastation Slow, it's kind of ridiculous in a lot of matchups. 40%, you can keep 100% uptime on it, and you can also cancel into and out of it to leave a very small window for other people to punish it. So I think if they nerfed those 2 and gave the class fixes for a lot of the weaknesses that it has in melee, especially against people with more protected classes. So stuff like super armor when using shake off cooldown, maybe getting rid of the gaps on the frontals like Ancient Wave, because Ancient Wave having a gap, for example, it didn't used to. It used to be fully protected, but then when they did the CC changes, they made it so that you can cancel both the CC and the damage from it by throwing an unprotected CC onto the person because it counts as a projectile. And it's the same thing for a lot of the things in the kit. So if they just remove all of those like random frustrating gaps, it wouldn't make the class busted anyway, because the entire kit is basically full frontal, which means the majority of the classes in the game can just go behind the frontal guard on CCU. Well, it would make it a lot less annoying to play in group fight. When you're already like focusing on trying to track something like a fully invisible Awakening Sage, Hashashin, Meigu, Wusa, that are full life frame until they pop up behind you and do a multi-hit protected CC, it doesn't make sense to have like gap on stuff like Ancient Wave. So I think the biggest nerf that it could do to Berserker, both Awakening and Succession, would be to improve the servers from 16 tick to 34 or no 32 or 64 tick, because that would remove the main strength of the class, which is how desync and lag it is when mouse moving. So let's say they up the server tick to 32, all of a sudden you can't really play Berserker in 1v1 anymore unless they fix the gaps. But it would make a bigger gap between experienced Berserkers and inexperienced Berserkers as well. I don't know, I think those changes would be pretty good. I doubt that they will happen though. I gambled a bit.
Thank you. So, can we get a brief summary, the good and the bad things of Awakening Berserker? Let's say that I want to play Awakening Berserker, I'm newbie or I'm returnee, and I want to test that, I want to check that class. What Awakening Berserker can offer me?
I don't really know how to explain it. Once you get a taste of it, like once you start getting comfortable with the cancels, it feels like it fits like a glove. Like you want to go to this place, boom, you're there. You want to change the direction of the dash because you see a CC, boom, you just move it. The dash is too long, do a little swirl with the fucking mouse movement, and you change the length of the dash. Like once you actually put in the time to properly learn the mechanics of the class, it's very fluid. There's no class that's even remotely close, and it's one of the few classes left in the game where every kill that you get, you're gonna feel like you actually earned it. You're not sitting there rotating protected CCs until one of them happens to catch somebody. Every single catch you have, there's some sort of counterplay to it. So just that being a thing makes it feel so good when you actually land a CC, because you land a CC and you get the dopamine rush, like I outplayed that guy, I beamed him, get farmed, you know, like it's great. So like if you're willing to put in the time and effort to learn it, it's gonna like feel really good long term.
Thank you. Thank you for all the infos about Awakening Berserker. Let's talk about BDO itself. What are your thoughts on BDO's current situation from past until now?
In my opinion, it used to be like completely amazing. It was probably the best thing I've ever played during one specific era with the tier 2 scene, everybody tryharding on sieges and stuff. But I feel like because Pearl Abyss keeps listening to the opinions and feedbacks of the wrong people, the game has been getting less and less focused. Like the end game, try hard, uncapped, like small and mid-scale type of PvP content that I enjoy. And although they keep adding stuff, most of the patches I'm looking at it, and it's like they're removing stuff only for me and my friends. So that sort of stuff, it's a bit rough. Like how they add a bunch of new cap node wars and catch-up mechanics for the new players. But then in the same patch, they will just permanently remove uncapped gear 30-mans. And there's no guild in the entire game that has 100 good players. And there's no community in the game that has 100 people that are friends. So you have the choice of either you don't do node wars anymore, or you scale up to 100, you lower your standards. You start inviting like so-called node war filler players. I think if you ask any person in leadership in any large-scale guild, any uncapped guild, they're gonna say the same. Like anything outside of the hardcore core, it drops significantly, and it's a lot of people that don't show up on the. You're fighting side by side with people that you've never talked with before in your life, and the quality of the PvP is just a lot lower, or it's a lot worse. Less enjoyable than the smaller scale stuff that they removed.
Thank you. So what do you think PA Company does well and bad? Let's say that you are a new Mr. J, okay? What would you like to add or remove from game? One thing to add, one thing to remove.
I think they did really well when it came to adding silver rewards to the PvP game modes, because I remember back before they did that, for the longest time there was like a 1 year period where the guilds just didn't show up to Node Wars and Siege. People just stopped placing because you had to spend all of this money on consumables. You had to put down all of this time and effort, and the only thing you got out of it was a little bit of an ego boost when you occasionally won. But I feel like because of them adding that, while also taking a bunch of extra steps to switch the focus over onto the newer players, there's more guilds placing for Node Wars, for example, but a lot of it is snipe guilds or people that only show up to the Node War to get the silver rewards. And in the meanwhile, all of the players that have the gear, the experience, the skill to have a high impact in that sort of content, they're not showing up anymore. They're not attending the Node Wars because they didn't care about the silver in the first place. They have max gear. Like the people that I would prefer to fight and I would prefer for them to focus on would be like the small and dedicated hardcore PvP community. That's it's basically been the same people for 6-7 years now, with the occasional new people pulling up to the scene. There's not that much content for us right now. I would love for them to add more stuff focused on the end game, because that's kind of the direction that the game went in when it was fully sandbox. Because sandbox games, they tend to attract people that they want to show up, they want to make a name for themselves. And then even if there is no like objective end game in the game, because it's sandbox, that means that once they're the ones with power, status, gear, whatever you want, they can actually like feel the impact of it. Unlike something like World of Warcraft, where maybe you get world first on a raid or something, gone the next patch, all of the gear is worthless. I feel like they attracted all of these like super hardcore, super sweaty players, and then they kind of just forgot about them.
Thank you. What advice would you like to give to newbies, returnees, and other players in the game?
Probably say get black stars as soon as possible and focus on getting a silver efficient build. Don't care so much about like end game PvP builds and stuff like that. You don't need to have double pendon, full pendebos in order to PvP. Gear has it's been so devalued at this point that the difference between somebody who's 690 on a blast build and somebody that's 760 on a full tank build, it's you will still one combo them. Like you can pull up with 309 AP, no debo set, only Tet accessories. You will one combo every single player in the game, besides maybe DP Shies. The only thing that actually matters in terms of performance is what class you pick. And also, don't waste your time on any class released before 2020, unless it's Valk. It's gonna sound a bit troll, but that's just how I see it.
Thank you. So we are reaching the end of the interview. Is there anything else you would like to add before we finish?
If I see Jay IRL, I hope he knows that he can't resist grabs in real life.
Okay, thank you. I want to thank Kaelthy. It's because he just shared all the informations, all his thoughts, and they all priceless. Thank you for everything.
Yeah, thank you as well for having me on. It's just I'm sorry for rambling a bit. I haven't really eaten much.
It's okay. Please check his social links you can see on the screen right now. You can find him in the description section. He's streaming, he has a YouTube channel. He's trying to create a new type of Awakening Berserker guide, as I heard, and he's working for that. You're gonna find insane amount of content, especially on his stream. He's doing insane PvP videos, insane PvP contents. So you will not regret that. Alright guys, do not forget, BDO is just a game. Have a nice game.